Good evening, Sakab. Good evening.
Give me a child until it's 7. NPMI node mailer. I already installed.
Hello, students. Good evening. We'll get started in 2 minutes. I'm just, yeah, we'll get started very soon. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, Kushal. How was your New Year celebration? How was your first day of New Year? It was good. It was good. I went to a temple and my New Year have been great so far. Yeah. Thanks for asking, Karan. Thanks for asking, Kushal. How about you guys? How is it going? Any any interesting New Year resolutions that you have? Anything that you have decided you will do this year that is different? Yeah, that is true. So Sakib was able Sakib was able to get the email client running, and he found out how to get it running, which is something. So to be fair, Google has not given exact instructions of how these things has to be done. They have given somehow conflicting uh, instructions, and what they say does not work in the app. So yeah, screw them. Now let's look at yeah, Likit has done with OAuth. Let me share with you a simple method. That seems to be working currently, but uh, I have no promise that it will work in the long run. But let me, and this is from Sakib. Thanks to him, I was able to come up with this approach, and I was introduced to this approach. So first thing, you go to the account that you have, okay, and in this account, you go to manage Google account, and inside this manage Google account, you go to security. Inside security, you have to turn on two-step verification. Get started on this. Okay, what's the password? I have not saved it. Yeah, then I can have my mobile number here. Have I saved? Why is the password? It is not saved. Okay, anyways, uh, I give my mobile number here. I do next. Google send you a text message with verification code. I have not yet received I just received the verification code. The verification code is G266454. Okay, you click on next and it works. Turn on to a step verification. You just turn it on. Okay, now once you turn it on, uh, you can turn it off anytime you want. All sorts of things you can do with this number now. Now what you do is you go back to the Google accounts, go back to security, and now there is something you have turned on to step verification. Uh, where is that? Linked account, password manager, recovery, app password. There's something called as app password. Click on this one. Select app and just click on other, and let me call it notification server, and you generate it. Now you get a password, which is a 16-letter password. Okay, you copy this password, uh, and then you open the app that what is wrong with this? So that's how you generate a 16-digit password. And now instead of using the original password that you are using in the email service, uh, no, not this one. This one is no, not this one. I have to open new window, and in this window, I'll have to open my notification service. I have to open CRM app. Inside CRM app, I build the notification service. I'm not going to copy the code for notification service today because of the fact that I only have to change one line. So I'll just go to this folder, 12 folder. I'll create a new folder for what I'm going to cover today. But for this folder, I'm just going to come to this folder and I click on email service. And instead of this password which I have saved, I paste the different password which I have copied from the email address. Now I save this and I come to this point. Uh, I cd into 12. Okay. I do node. No, node. app.js. If I click on node app.js, it starts running on port 3030 and count of unsent notification is 1 and it is trying to send it. Uh, and it is connecting to the internet. Let's hope it sends the email. Timeout. Hmm. Oh, this should be 464. This should not be 576. Uh, just give me 1 second. These settings should be a little different. Service is 465 host. Okay, I'll remove this. This is not needed. And port should be 465. I save this. I go to my code. I do Control C and I run the Node.js app again. Let me check my cron job. What is cron job doing? Every 5 seconds, it is saying what are the unsent mail and it is sending those mails. So the problem, every 5 seconds, it is looking for unsent email and it is saying it is not able to send these emails. Uh, let me write down some proper email addresses in this. I think this should work. So I come here and go to Mongo Compass and inside Mongo Compass, I think somebody must be writing something in the chat. Let me check the chat. Instead of host, try service Gmail. Okay, thank you. That's what I was. Yeah, I'm going to repeat the steps. Let me do that. Just give me 1 second. I think that's a good suggestion from Sakab. I go here, I go to email service, and instead of host, I'll just do service as Gmail. Service as Gmail. Okay. I save it, open the tab, Control C, app.js, and let's see if this is able to send. Mhm. I should first make the cron job every 30 seconds. No, just I think the problem is that this email address has something to do with this. Let me go to let me connect to the local host. Let me go to notification DB and inside DB ticket notifications, uh, ticket ID, unsent array, and there is recipient email. Let me write proper email addresses. So let me close this and let me come here and write my own email address. Central Yadav 90. I come here minus minus minus. Why am I not able to scroll to the right? Update. Okay. Now again go to the app and let's say uh let's have let me run this every 15 seconds because this is causing a lot of problem. I come here to control X on sorry control C on I should have run control C. Let me run it again. I, I accidentally did Control X. Yeah. So this is the email that we need to send. Let's wait for a few seconds and see if it is getting sent. No. Oh, sorry. One more thing I have to update here is service should be Gmail, and there should be something called as host. Host. It is actually equal to smtp.gmail.com. Let me save this. Let me go back to this. Control C. Yes. And this is the email address it is sending to me. And it connect e timeout. Um, is there something I'm missing in this? Valid recipient email. Instead of try service Gmail, that is something I've tried. Secure service as Gmail I've tried. It's working for me. Secure. Okay. Port I. Let me see. Hmm. I click on done. Excuse me. Let me do this. Ping 72.117.194.108.65. This host is not. This is working. This is working. This is working. Data. Let me change this from change this to immediate sales and this node such as no, it is not working. Has uh, okay, let me do secure to uh, secure as pro. Secure as let's see and let's see here. Run this again. No, connect timeout. Even with secure as well. Let me change this email address as 9898. Yes. Uh, both of these are valid email addresses. But I'm not sure if I can connect to this port. Uh, Try Google. Let me see what I hate. This what is he saying? Node mailer. Yeah, that's what I'm. That's exactly what I'm doing. Is my node mailer not up to? Is my node mailer not up to the mark or something? Let me increase this. That's all he did. Okay, and I'm okay. So I'll just come here and remove everything and see if that one works. So I'll remove all three of these things. No need for this. Just Gmail and with this. Save it. And control C this. If it is going, if it would have worked, it would have worked so already, but let's see. Me connect. No mailer, let transporter create Gmail auth user. Yes. Yes, exactly. I got this, but On my machine, it is not working. Okay, maybe the problem is I have created a new account and that way it is causing some problem. So let me go back to my other account and try to see if it is working from that account. So I sign into I sign into the other account and let's just go to Google account first and see if security, and in security there is two-step verification. Turn it on. Let me check the chat. No need secure on. Like, sir, screen got. Oh, sorry, screen got. Sorry, I was thinking all this while that I'm sharing. Sometimes when I mess up the code in the class, I get uh, very stressed out about it. No need to be stressed out. Um, this is timing out. Maybe my note mailer is not to it. Note mailer. What is the version of node mailer package.json? No package.json. 6.8.0. What is your version of Node Mailer? Uh, Sakib and Likit, can you check and tell me? Six. Oh, got it, I think the problem is with my machine. I have to shut down my, I have to shut down my antivirus. Okay. Now I again go. I think that was the problem. I don't know. I'll try one more time. I have this 40 client antivirus which causes all sorts of errors in my computer. And I don't understand why that error is happening, which is the trouble. Hmm, no, it's not. Let me Google this, see what is the problem. People also don't know why this works and why it doesn't. Gmail, Windows, Gmail. Okay, somebody has figured it out. Let me check. Hmm, This was when was this comment written? 20 October. Okay, so this is good. Let me check. Go to email service and remove this part. Paste this. Save this. See. Hmm, Auth. Surpass. Resolved. Okay. Things seems to be working. Debug sending mail using SMTP. Find this. And what is connection timed out on this? Closing connection to servers using destroy. Uh, Sand error. Connection timeout. Connection timeout. I'm getting timeout error. Gmail SMTP giving timeout error. These ISP has blocked these. Huh. I- Do I have to change my client or something? Am I sharing the screen right now? Just give me 1 second. Am I sharing the screen? I see port also. Yeah, I've changed the port. Uh, it is resolved. SMTP is resolving to 172, 217, 194, 108. Okay. Now, what is the second debug message? Hmm, hmm, no. Okay, so the internet might disconnect for a few minutes, but I'm going to connect to my mobile internet. I think this is a problem from my internet provider. Uh, I'm going to, yeah, turn it off, turn it on. Hello? Hello? I was able to fix the issue. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting inside. Hello? Am I connected to the class? Can I get some reaction? Yeah. Okay. Uh, Now, sorry, I was getting all those errors, and the error was with my internet provider. My ISP was blocking uh, SMTP to send an email from my computer. So basically, there is a layer which is provided by the internet service provider who lives in Hyderabad. Now, he can decide if he don't want to send a traffic to a particular port, or he can block particular ports on the internet. So they have blocked that port, and I was not able to send the email from my computer, my Wi-Fi basically. So what I did actually was to connect to my mobile phone and then send the email using my mobile phone. And here I was able to send the email from a particular email address to a particular email address. And yeah, and I'll show you the email also. Uh, so these things are a little difficult to debug because they are not these problems are not coming from your code. They are coming from this is what the email address this is the email that you got. Okay, and it is coming from anshulyadav98@gmail.com to myself, and it is saying your ticket has been updated. So this So uh, now let me revise through the steps. So let's look at it a little more clearly, since there is something to be learned here. I mean, I understand that you have to wait for some time and there were errors, and it might be a little disappointing to see your teacher struggling with a problem. Uh, but let me just cover a few things that have occurred here so that you have a learning. Can I use SMTP with existing account? Yes. Okay. So there is something called as notification app. Okay. Notification app, which is sending an email to somebody sitting here. Okay. Suppose this is me with my email address that I need to send. And there is Gmail, which is managing the whole transaction from the notification app to myself. But to reach to Gmail, there is a network from which this notification has to go through, which is coming from ISP, Internet Service Provider. He decides how the traffic will go around the internet. Okay. And error can occur. So error can be in your notification app code. That's one problem. So first problem is maybe Gmail is not accepting uh, a usual way of doing business. And then he might not be very clear about how you need to send it across. So you have to do some Googling, have to look around to see how to send emails using SMTP. That is one thing. Second thing is if there is a connection timeout, what else can go wrong? Connection timeout. What all the things that can go wrong? So first thing I checked was pinging on the IP address. Try to see if the IP address is working. I have wanted to ping on a particular port as well, but I don't know how to ping on a particular port. Maybe I can just write port number at the end and it will ping to that. Let me see if I can ping to a particular port. And so, so this will give you an give uh, so let me show you where the problem was in more concrete terms. So I come here, Control C this, and uh, let me take the URL that I'm trying to connect to. This is the URL that I'm connecting to. No, uh, let me come here and write. debug as true. Okay. Uh, Let me save this and let me go back to Mongoose. And here I'm just going to change this unsent. No, I have to refresh the data and I'm going to make this as unsent and underscore sent. And now I'm going to update this. Okay. Now I'll show it to you what is the exact error that I'm getting. So this is right now connected to my Wi-Fi. I have made the debug as true, so I will see the messages that are occurring. And now I will go to Node app and I'll run it. So it got connected to MongoDB, and uh, after a few seconds, it will send. It will see how many. What is the error here? Control C this. There's one unsent notification, which is this one. Okay. So I'm going to establish a connection with the Gmail account, and I should be able to see that. Uh, it is saying connection timeout on this. Okay, this port. Just mind this port for the timing, and I will disconnect. The class might disconnect for a few seconds because I'm going to connect to my mobile internet. But let me show it to you what is happening right now. If I do ping, let's see, ping on this port and ping. Mm, Passport. Okay, I can just write it out with a space. So I'll just come here and give a space and write 465. No, I want not telnet. I want the ping software. Come on. Ping a port using telnet. PowerShell. PowerShell. Testnet connection. Okay. I just copy this. Come here and write testnet connection. And then I write 142.250.4.09 MSP 465. Waiting for the response. Are you able to see? It is waiting for the response from this TCP connection, and it is just waiting. It is not able to get the response. Okay. You see, it is just waiting for the echo reply, and it says that uh, ping reply detail warning TCP connect to failed. It failed on this because I'm not able to connect to this IP address with this port from my machine, from my internet provider, basically. Okay. Now I'm going to pause the video for a second. Okay. The video might get, I'm not intentionally doing it, but I'm going to just connect to my mobile internet and I'll do the same process from my mobile internet now. It might get disconnected. Okay. Now you see, I changed my internet and I did the same process of uh, connecting to that. Succeeded on this test net when I was checking on the new internet, and the previously it failed. Okay, and that was the reason why I was not able to uh, connect to the internet provider. Okay, so I spent some time on this connection because I no. What is the key learning that you got it from this discussion? Can I get some insight on that? Just what is the key learning? I was trying to say something, but I don't know whether the message got across. Hello? How to debug an unknown error, and more importantly, how to figure out, and not just how to debug, but once you have debugged, once your code has started working, you need to dig a little deeper. You need to dig a little deeper and try to understand what was the exact evidence that suggests the error. So my hunch was that my internet provider is causing the problem, but how do I test that? So I connected to my mobile phone and my email readily got sent. That was good, but then I'm still not confident that it is the internet problem, because there are so many moving parts. So what I do, I use a ping, basically a test connection kind of framework, which is going to test the connection on my internet as well as on the Wi-Fi, as well as on the mobile internet. And suddenly I have clarity, and next time if this error occurs, I know exactly what to be done. Okay, so yeah, that was the whole discussion. Okay, let's any other learning, any other thing that you would have learned from this discussion, just to understand the message is going across. Yes, Karan. Yeah, that is a that is something I was thinking somebody will point out. So let me repeat the steps once for it to make sense. What you need to do is, mm, first go to your Google account. Just go to your Chrome window and then click on this icon and go to manage your Google account. Once you click on manage Google account, this screen will show up. And here is something called as security. Click on security. And in security, there is something called as two-step verification. You need to turn this verification on. So you need to log in and go ahead and turn on this two-step verification. It will take few steps, and typically it will take like 1 minute to turn it on. Like you will have to input your email, mobile number, and you have to do that. Once you turn on your two-step verification, this option will start showing up as app password. Okay. In app password, now I'm deleting this app password because I don't need it. Now click on select app and click on a custom name and give a name with, let's say, an app. I'll just call it notify. I generate a password. This password got generated. I copy, I copy this password, and then all I need to do is, it's a very simple step. Just go to this node, create email service.js file in your notifier, and create a transport layer. Basically, what this create transport is doing, it is creating a transport layer. All you need to do is, you need to give the service as Gmail, and you need to give the password of the app that you have found out right now. Once you do this step, nothing other than that is required as far as the service basic settings are concerned. uh, Nothing other than that is required. And once you give this, the rest of the app will work just fine. Everything else is good. Okay. Does that make sense, Karan? Hello. Do you want me to write the steps also? Let me just give all the steps one more time. So first step is two step verification. Second step is app password generation. And the third step is setting the password. Setting the password. Were you there in the last class, Karan? In code. Were you there in the last class, Karan? Uh, okay, okay, sure. So I'll explain the code now. Let's have a bird's eye view of the whole code. Sometimes some of you might have forgotten about the node service. And let me check the time. Okay, I'll explain the code and then we'll take a break. And once you come back from the break, I'll show you how to connect the notification service with the uh, with your uh, CRM app service. Okay, so this service, let me draw the again. I typically explain code by diagram, and I want you to understand it from the diagram again. So there is something called as notification service, which has a server which goes to a router. Router sends the service to a notification controller. Controller changes the code to the model. Model is basically the database. And then this model is being checked by a cron job. This cron job keeps on running every 30 seconds. It checks if there are unsent emails in the model. And once this cron job finds an unsent email, it calls something called as email service, which sends the email to the person, to whoever you want to send it. So the email service actually sends it to the Gmail, and then Gmail takes care of the whole process. This is the overall structure of the app. Is this making sense, Karan? I want you to look at the code at this level of abstraction. I don't want you to go and see each line of code. Okay. When I'm building an app, I typically want you to first see the big picture. And once the big picture is clear, the code is very simple now. You know how to build each of these parts. Like it's not a rocket science to build each of these parts. Uh, I'll show all of them to you. I start from app.js. I connect to my MongoDB and I start an Express server. And I say that please connect my router to the app. And I'm listening on port 3030. Then what I do is I go to my routes and I say there are two basic operations you can do. Either you can get the status of a particular notification or you can post some notification. So you can post some notifications onto the system. So basically when CRM app is using the notification app, it can send some notification and then the notification app will send those notifications to Gmail. So you can send a notification or you can get the status of a current notification. Okay. Then this goes to notification controller, which is a simple controller. All it does is it writes the same object that you are sending. You send a notification to me, I'm going to save it in my database. And that's all I'm doing. Okay. I save my request in the database. Once I save the request, and this is my database model. It has subject, ticket ID, content, recipient email, send status, requester, created at, and updated at. The most important field of this is the sent status. Just notice this. This tells you in the database how many uh, this tells you how many messages are unsent so far. And here is a pro tip that I want you to understand. If you are designing this database, it is an obvious choice to use send status as the partition key. Okay. You want to partition your data based on the sent status so that all the unsent messages are on a different cluster and all the sent messages are on a different cluster. Does that point make sense, Karan? It is the pro point, which is going back to our MongoDB discussion that we were happening. Yes. So that's one pro tip that you can use. Basically, once you become an architect, you can do all those things. And then once something is saved in the model, this sent status is what is the key here. You have a cron job, which every 30 seconds checks for all unsent messages. And for each unsent messages, it sends that message using the email client that we have, the email transporter that we have established. What is the email transporter? Email transporter is nothing but a node mailer object which has created a transport layer, a transport connection, TCP connection with the Gmail itself, and then it is sending the messages over that connection. Okay, so that's the overall code. Creating first notification was unsent. Yeah, when you first create a notification, is saved as unsent. Yes, exactly, Ankit. That is true. Let me show the email service. It's a very simple. Uh, this is the email service. Okay, there is Gmail, there is debug. It's just a create transport call, and this create transport call is basically creating a TCP connection, SMTP transport connection between the Gmail service and your computer, basically. Okay. Hmm. Now here is one thing that I just want you to note, and that is part of the pain. Can you explain the ping too? Yes, Aradhya, that's my job. I can explain the ping also. Ping is nothing but a way of seeing if we can connect. And I mean, so there are ways of checking the network connection. Basically, when you understand, when you learn about what is it called, computer networks, you will learn about different ways of dealing with the network and understanding the network. And this is the most basic connection you can establish between a particular IP address and your computer. Now you might be thinking, what is an IP address? A good question to have. Okay. So to explain the ping, let me explain it to you. So explaining the pin, I will need an explanation of IP address. Do you know what is an IP address, Aradhya? We have been using IP addresses. Okay. IP address is just internet protocol address, which is basically the address on the internet. Which so when you write say relevel.com, relevel.com is something that your router don't understand. A router has no memory which says yeah. Router don't have a memory which says that don't know what relevel.com is. It understands only numbers. Okay. But if I want to ping to relevel.com, I need its IP address, which is the address on which I want to send my messages to. So first it will go to the DNS server, and that DNS server is going to give you the IP address of this. And then your computer is very clever. It will save the IP address of relevel. If mail is not valid, then you will get some kind of error. Okay. Okay. If you give a invalid mail, it will give some kind of error. Okay. So relevel, yeah, you will get an IP address of relevel from DNS server. Now this IP address is interesting. Once you have this IP address, you can talk to anyone in the whole world. I mean, anyone's email IP address, if you know, you can send messages across the internet. That is the power of internet. Now, your SMTP server, that is the Google server which is sending these messages. Uh, if SMTP error will be from SMTP, Ankit. It will not be from DNS. DNS is just providing the IP address. DNS doesn't care if mail is not valid. The SMTP server will send an error saying this email address is not valid. Sometimes it does not give you immediate error. So Ankit, I don't know how it will work out in this SMTP case, but if you send an email address to an invalid email address using your Gmail, you get the error message after say 4 or 5 hours. So it will show up in the network logs. It will show up much later in the network logs, not currently as soon as the email is sent. Anyways, um, we can discuss that a little later. But if the sender's email address, so for example, the person who is sender, SMTP does not vary. SMTP is a server which is running on this email IP address. SMTP. So, for example, if I'm living in Hyderabad in Masjid Banda, then I don't verify that I live in Masjid Banda. I know that I'm living in Masjid Banda. It is the person who is sending me the post or the postman has to find where is Masjid Banda in Hyderabad, what is the pin code, how to get there, all those things he will have to figure out. I just have to tell. So all the email get from any web app, we use the same process that we did in this project. Yes, all the yeah, that is very similar. The same process happens, Ankit. Now, going back to the discussion that I was having. So this IP address is here. And whenever we are talking to this IP address, there are different ways of talking to it and different layers at which, different levels of abstractions at which we can talk. Either I can send bits of zeros and ones across, and I can talk at that level. Okay. Or I can build a layer on top of it, a layer of abstraction, a layer of logic, which tells what does these bunch of zeros and ones means. They have a particular meaning, and then I deal with those meanings instead of dealing with zeros and ones. Okay. So ping is a type of message that says, are you alive? Can Are you happy to connect with me? And once I ping somebody, he says, okay, I don't mind connecting to you. I know that I can establish uh, higher layers of abstraction. Okay. So, suppose I give my if suppose I give my pin code to Amazon while getting a delivery. So Amazon will check whether that pin code is valid or not. Okay. And how does it check? It just calls up. So initially it has a database, but basically if it didn't have a database, it will call the uh, post office at that pin code and check if that pin code is valid. Similarly, a small packet travels through the network and try to see if this IP address that you are talking about is an actual address or it is a dead end that nobody can travel to. And the other thing it checks is, are you allowed to go to this? There are multiple players in between you and the IP address. Suppose I want to send a post to a military headquarters in Ladakh. Then suddenly there are so many security restrictions that there's no guarantee that my post will go. Okay. So all those things, if it is a ping, if the ping is successful, then it means that the messages can travel. Okay. I hope that was helpful, Aradhya. Okay, so we are going to take a break right now, and once we come back from the break, we'll discuss how to connect this notification service with our CRM app. Okay, sure. Let's take a break and come back at 11:40. I'm sorry to somebody, I don't remember his name. I think it was Nitish or somebody who has dinner, who has some problems with dinner. He doesn't get dinner on time if I don't leave. I'm sorry for the 5 minutes. Sorry, Nitish. I just got stuck with the code. I'll meet back at 9:40. Hello, students. Are you back? Nitish, are you back from the dinner? Were you able to get dinner? Okay. Was the mass open? Okay. Okay. Thankfully, that didn't go. Let me push the notification. Okay. Yeah. There is no separate URL for, sorry, separate GitHub link for the notification service. You can get the notification service in the same GitHub. Mm. You can get the notification service in the same GitHub repository that you have been using so far. Yeah, I'm going to share the screen. Just give me 1 second. It's on my radar. I know I have not shared the screen. I'm going to share it just give me 2 minutes. Okay. So, uh, so in the next few classes, there might be, I don't know, maybe I should not share this, but just, just to get a perspective from the students, uh, would you like to have the front end classes also from me? Like, uh, would you like me to take the front end classes for also for the same app? Like we can continue the whole journey till the front end as well. Just wanted to, I don't know whether that's a good question to ask, but yeah. Uh, the team was asking me if, yeah, if you want to take the front end classes. I thought I'll ask the students. Okay, makes sense. We'll again understand front end from the first principles. That is how I will teach. Just like I'm teaching everything here with the first principles, I'll explain front end as well from the first principles. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. And today, the agenda for today is to connect the notification service app with the CRM app. Okay. So first thing, I'll create a new folder and copy the data from the CRM app. So I'll just Control C and Control V. Okay. I rename this here 13 connecting notification service. Oh, it should be connecting CRM app to the notification service. And today's date is 2nd of January 2023. Have I made a blunder here? Yes, I think I have made a blunder. Can you tell me what is the blunder I made? I just delete this. The blunder I made was I copied the notification service. Notification service will stay the same. Actually, you need to copy the building CRM app with this folder. Folder number 10, not 12. Copy folder number 12, 10 and paste it. So the changes will happen only in the CRM app, and I'll explain the high level view of this whole transaction in just a second. But I'll just create a new folder, and in this folder I'll call it as 13, connecting CRM app to the notification service. And then you will have second Jan 2023. Now I go to we will not need, okay, now let me go to this folder. Let's look at video got stuck. Is it stuck for is it still stuck, Aradhya? I was switching between the, no, okay. So let me give you the overview of what I'm trying to make. If you, again, the focus should be on the big picture. If the big picture is clear, you will figure out the code. Uh, uh, I mean, it will take some hit and trial, it will take some understanding. But if the big picture is clear, you can easily code the thing up. And the big picture is this. There is a notification service. Yeah, my video might have gotten stuck when I was switching between the apps. I'm sorry for that. There's something called as notification service. It's a extra service that you have whose sole purpose in life is to send notifications to whatever users you want notification to be sent to. And you have a CRM app whose sole purpose in life is to manage the database. You have a database of tickets, and CRM app is basically there so that people can interact with those database. There will be a front-end app which is going to interact with this app and will show the UI to the user and will receive requests from the CRM app. Now, this CRM app has only one trade that it needs to do with the notification service. We are going to do two of them. First is whenever a new ticket gets created, whenever I create a new ticket, I should be notifying two people. First is the engineer, and second is the customer. I need to notify the engineer and the customer that an email has a ticket has been created. Does that make sense? So whenever you raise a request on a customer service platform, they typically send you a email saying that your request has been registered on our platform. So you talk to a customer service representative, and they tell you, okay, I'm adding a ticket on your name, and then you get an email from the company saying that, yeah, your ticket has been added. So the customer service representative is actually talking to the CRM app, and or either the customer or the representative, one of those two people are talking to the CRM app, and then the CRM app is sending, whenever there's a ticket created, it sends a message to the notification service, whose job is just to notify everyone. It is like your postman who goes around, and so whenever you have so in my small town, whenever there is a marriage, we typically call the barber, and then the barber roams around the locality and tells everyone that some so and so has a wedding invitation. I mean, or maybe a small function is happening. There's a small function inside the mehndi, or some kind of function is going on. The barber will go around and will notify all the people that this function is going on. Please come. Okay. Notification service is actually that barber. Okay. And now here is a discussion. This might get a little philosophical, but I think I have a point that is worth sharing. And this the point is this purpose thing. Have you ever thought about purpose? Have you ever thought about what is your purpose in life? I mean, this is again a question that might, I mean, if you are in your early 20s or maybe in your late 20s, that might be a question that you're sometimes concerned with. Many people get concerned about it in their 45, when they look back in their life and they realize that, okay, I didn't serve any purpose. But what is the purpose? What is the meaning of purpose? Have you ever thought about that? Any guesses? Just tell me what is the meaning of purpose, and then I'll show you how it is related to programming. Okay. What is purpose? What are purpose is like reason or something. Reason for something. That's very close. That's a direction. Direction is not that close. Aradhya is very close. Make some more guesses. It's okay to make some guesses in this class. This is a general topic, so you can surely make guesses here. Hmm. Purpose is, I define it as this: reason for being. What is the reason for your existence? Okay, that is called as purpose. As long as the purposes are clear. So, for example, if you are managing an organization, you need to know what is the purpose of each of the employees in your organization. And there should be a clear understanding between the employees that what is exactly the task, what is the reason for you being paid. Okay. What is the reason for you being in the system? That is called as purpose. So an organization will have some employees, some software developers, there will be some program managers, okay, and and then there will be some managers. There will be all sorts of hierarchy in here, but every person has a purpose that they serve. And as you grow up in the hierarchy, it becomes lesser and lesser clear. It becomes less clear as to what is the purpose you're serving. And the less clarity, and people will not tell you, and you have to do a lot of guesswork as you grow up in the hierarchy to understand what is the purpose you're serving. And so you need clarity about the purpose, and you need a way of communicating it with the team. Like everyone should know who is the person for what. Okay, so that is the purpose. Similarly, when you have companies, again, The same concept applies. There is a purpose for any successful company, any company which is not doing or not burning cash from the investors. I mean, who is just not burning cash from the investors, have a clear purpose which they are solving, their reason for being in the market. And as long as that reason is there, the whole marketing and the whole product thing works. Okay, and everything serves that purpose as long as as far as the company is concerned. Once that purpose is failed, it will not take much time for the company to go down. Okay, so are you understanding the logical direction where I'm taking you with this? Now, the same thing is there with your code. Every part of your code or every part of your design has a specific purpose. Doesn't matter how big or how small that purpose is. A clean design is a design where the purposes are clear to everyone. Okay? Clean code is where purpose keeps change as you get desired output. Yes, Ankit, that is true. So that is again how it happens in the organizations and how it happens everywhere. Like companies try to reposition themselves. You try to get a promotion over time. Uh, you get promotion over time. But again, the key point is clean code or clean organization is clarity of purpose. As long as the purpose is clear, you know what is expected from a particular piece of code. You know how it is going to, how it should perform that purpose. Okay, and that's how you can now. This is the unifying thing across the different hierarchies of abstractions that I've been talking about. Every line of code that you write has a specific purpose. Why you have written that line? You all have bunch of lines here, and you can pinpoint when you are analyzing a small piece of code. You can see what each line of that code means. When you combine those few lines together and you create a function also have a purpose, and it should be clear. I mean, it should be clear in your mind what purpose the function is serving. If that purpose is not clear, then that function is a messy function. Sir, can we consider notification? Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Ankit. So flow of code will become clear when the purposes of each of the line is clear. And then on top of functions, you have modules. And a module is also serving a purpose. Every module has a different purpose. And now the question is, why do you have difference? Why do you have code for the controller different from the code for model? Have you ever thought about it? I could have very well written, I could have very well written, combined the controller with the model and created a clumsy function, a long function that will do the exact same job. But that is not clear programming. I don't know what purpose it is serving. And it is so difficult to explain at this level. Okay, it's very costly to explain your code line by line. This is something that I also am not doing in this class. If this was a DSA class, I would have gone through each of the line of code and explain you the lines. But here I'm not explaining you the lines. And there are two ways, the two things. First of all, it's not efficient in terms of time, and second, it is not the right way to explain the code. Okay, now it would have taken me a lot of time to explain if I would have combined the controller and the model in one big function, because I have to go back to these lines where I have to explain you each line what it is doing. But when I separate it into controller and model, suddenly my task becomes very easy. You see, everyone in the industry knows what a controller does. So it will not take me much time to explain that my controller is doing so and so. There's a controller for the user user creation. As soon as I say this word, user create, there's a controller for user creation. The person in front of me knows what I'm talking about. As soon as I say my user creation model has following fields, the person knows what I'm talking about. And that is where we can do away with a lot of we can do away with a lot of complexity. Anyone who is looking at your code knows exactly what is going where. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. So many of the times when you look at a piece of code and you start working in a company, suppose you did very well in DSA and you got a job in a company, you suddenly look at a piece of code and you don't know how to make head and tail of it. Have you ever had that experience? You have a piece of code and you don't know how to make a head or tail of it. There's a uh, big, uh, big app and you don't know how to understand it. The first response would be to go line by line on each piece of code, and that is not going to work. I mean, that can work if you have infinite time and you don't mind being laid off from the company, uh, but that is not going to work. You will have to chunk different pieces of the information together, and then you have to analyze the code. Okay, so now let's go back to this. We have our CRM app. Now I'm covering the whole complexity of the notification service. This whole diagram, you see this diagram, this whole diagram, I have covered it into a single box called as notification service. Suddenly notification service, this small diagram is a zoomed out version of this big diagram. Okay, this small diagram is the zoomed out version of that bigger diagram. And nobody has a problem because they know what exactly it is doing. I don't mind how it is doing it at this point, so I don't worry about that. But I know that there is a notification service which will do this task. This is its purpose, and I'm clear with that. Now I send a ticket, I notify the engineer and customer, and the other functionality I can use this notification services. Whenever I update a ticket, I would like to notify the engineer and the customer. Those are the two use cases I have for notification service currently. Is the big picture clear? I think Vivek Patel has an exam till 4th, so he's not in the class. Vivek, in the future, if you are watching this video, just let me know if you have any doubts. Hmm. Hmm. Anyone else has a doubt about the whole picture? Aradhya is Aradhya is having fun with this whole discussion. Clear, sir. Yeah. Sometimes it happens that I'm sharing a concept and that actually particularly hits a student very well. And I think this purpose discussion hits Aradhya very well. That's good. Sure. Now, hmm. So we have, let me close all this windows and let me do first thing, which is to run my notification server. So I'm currently in the notification server. I'll just do node app.js and it will start my notification server. Every 30 seconds, it is going to check. It is running on port 3030 and every 30 seconds, it will check for unsent messages. One thing I will not be able to show you is how emails are sent across because I'll have to disconnect from this Wi-Fi and connect to another Wi-Fi, which is not a pleasant experience for the whole class. But there's an unsent email and it will not get sent. I promise you it will not get sent. So I'll just add a new folder and Now I can do this one. Let me show you one more thing. I can do something like ping. Sorry, I can do test connection, and I can do localhost minus b 3030. You see what happened here? I was able to connect to the notification server. Do you see this magic? Okay, so we were connected to notification server. Notification server is working well. That is good. Now what we are going to do is, so I'll show you how it will not work also. So there is nothing running on 3000. So if I run this, it says failed. Okay, so it is not something that is running on all ports. It is specifically on 3030 that you have a local host running. On 3000 there is nothing running. Okay, so just find that this difference. So we know that our notification service is running. Now I will cd into in CRM app. Inside this folder 13, I'm going to define another utility. Inside utility, I'm going to define something called as notification client.js. This is a utility and it is a client. So just notice the name of it, notification client. What does that mean? Have you thought? Let's think about it. We have to install some package to use ping. On Windows, if you are using PowerShell, test connection is already installed, Aradhya. So you don't have to do anything. Uh, so you can directly use test connection and that will work. But if you are using Linux, there is something pingwiz will obviously be installed, but you can do telnet or something to install that. You can check for this. Yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah, I'm trying. I will be getting a new laptop soon, and I will be switching to Debian for sure. Have you seen any instructor taking lectures from Debian or Ubuntu? Does this platform works with that? I just want to get an update on that. Yes, Sakib, that is a very good idea, and you should be doing that. If you don't do it, it's a very bad practice. Um, I was thinking of covering that in today's class, but I don't know how much time I have left. So, anyways, so I wrote a name called as notification client. What does this mean? This means I will save my client code. What do you understand what client code is? There is two things. So there is a server and there's a client. There's a client and there is a server. And this server might be client to some other servers. There might be a server 1 and it is communicating to server 2. Okay. Now you will have small clients written inside this server, small modules which you call as notification client or backend client or something like that, which signifies to every developer that this piece of code is going to communicate to the notification service. And that is the purpose of this piece of code. It will send whatever request goes to the notification service have to go from the notification client. Purpose clear? Okay. Now we'll have the notification client, and for this we'll need something called as um, where client is required. There's a module called as node rest client, and you need to call client on this. and you can save it. Okay. Let me check my package.json. It does not contain it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and do npm npm I don't want to write the whole install. npm I node rust client, node rust client, save. Will get the client for me. High severity vulnerability. What is this? Uh, what is the vulnerability? Let me do npm audit. What's the vulnerability? Vulnerability. Okay, so uh, there's something JSON web token has been updated or something. So let me just fix it. npm audit. Vulnerable to signature validation bypass due to insecure default algorithm verified. Okay, safe. There are people who have found a hack into the JSON web token. So it's a good idea to fix it. I'll just do force, and it is going to fix the vulnerability. I will see if my code is running well after this, but let me just continue with coding. I have the client. All I do is where client, define a new client. Uh, just do new client. Now this client contains what do you understand by a client? Have we ever used a client so far? Have you ever used a client before this? Think a little more. Have you used a client in the discussion you have with me? No, as user, whatever. Have you used something called as client so far? Kushal got it. Yes, Kushal. What have you used as a client? Yes, exactly. We have used Postman. Postman was our client. Okay. Think of this module as a code version of Postman. So whatever you were doing with the Postman, you can do the same things with this module. This class can do all the things that the Postman can do. And I'll define a function which takes the ticket ID, subject, content, email IDs, and requester. And then what we'll do is I'll create a request body. You see what request body is? The raw body that we used to write in our Postman code. That same thing we are writing here. We are writing a Postman code. So whatever you are doing in that app, you have to do the same thing. Just give me 1 second. What line 1 and 3 are doing exactly? So one is basically getting the client from this module called as Node Rust client. Okay. Once you have the module, you define an object from that class. Okay. What is a client in? Basically it is getting the client object from this module. Yeah, this is getting. So this is the module. It will have a bunch of exports. So it has many exports. It has client, maybe, I don't know what all exports does it have. Uh, Let me just console total log client. Okay, let me just do this and show you the client object. Save this and I go to this. I do node, let's do node slash util notification client.js. So you see what is here? It is an object containing a object called as client. This contains an object inside this. Now you can pick a bone with the Node.REST client, uh, Node.REST client code writer, but they have actually wrapped around the client inside an object. You see here, the client is inside an object. So it's a very counterintuitive way of doing it, but I don't know, they have done it. Now what I do is I unpack this client from the, yes, exactly. It is a function, but it is a like prototype function. You can think of that function as an object as well. So JavaScript is actually blurring the lines between functions and objects. So you can call it as a object. You can also probably call it like a function, and it will do the same. It returns the client. So you can do any of these things. Like deconstructing. It is similar to deconstructing, but you can think of it as what feature will it give us? Node.REST client. Abhijit, it will give the feature same as Postman. Whatever features you had with Postman, similar feature set will be there with Node.REST client. It can communicate with REST APIs. That is the purpose of this client. Okay. So now you don't have to worry about sending bits of ones and zeros on the REST API. You can just send these larger data, and the client will take care of it. Now you have few things. Request body should contain. Now for this, I'm going to show you the request body that I have created for the Node client. Maybe I can show. Let me see if I still have that body. What are the things that I have in my request body for my notification service? Let's look at that. There's post notification. In post notification, the body contains few things: subject, ticket ID, content, recipient email, and requester. These are the 5 things that my request body contains. I have to give the same 5 things to my notification client, to my Node.REST client. I'll copy paste. But now you see, I cannot send values which are hard coded. That beats the purpose of coding itself. What I need to do is I get these values while calling the function and I send them across. So requester is something I need. I also need email IDs. I need the content. I need the ticket ID. And I need the subject. So far, so good. So we have a request body. After the request body, uh, there's something called as, why am I using where? This is the problem of referring a documentation. Const, I can use const here. I can use a const here also. And I'll have a const args. Now this request, so sending a request will contain 2 things. One is the data, which contains request body, and you'll have a header, which will contain something called as content type. You remember we used to save content type in in the Postman. So I'll show you how it happens. Suppose I come here and I change this JSON to text. What has changed? This has changed, but as far as REST API is concerned, the thing that has changed is in header there is something called as connection type, and now it is plain text. I go back to the body and I change it to JSON. Now again go back to header, and suddenly the content type is changed. Okay, so it might look as if you are communicating with a lot of click and drag options, but there are essentially two things that you are communicating with. One is the header, one is the params, one is the header, and the other is the body. And you can do the same thing here also. You have the body, you have the header. You can also have params if you want. So content type is application / JSON. I use the analogy of Postman because it is easier to understand. You have experience of Postman, so you can understand what is happening. Now I will write the last line and it will become all clear. All you need to do to make a post request, you need to call the client, and in the client you have to send the URL. URL is going to be HTTP. So we will replace, so it will replace Postman. Yes, it will. So Aradhya, the problem with Postman is uh, your CRM app cannot use Postman. You can use Postman for sure, but your CRM app cannot use it. So it needs some way of doing the same thing that you're doing with the Postman program automatically. And this code does exactly that. It automates that process. So here's a short story. Oh, yeah, it's more useful. So I'll tell you a short story about this. It might be looking like a. Let me see what is the URL I'm using in the notification service. Routers notification service. Yeah. This might be feeling like a feeling like a low-hanging fruit. Like it might be looking as if something very trivial. You are just automating this process. But why is it so? What is it so? It is so because CRM app. So it is creating an instance of CRM app for our notification service. No, we are coding in the CRM app right now. Inside CRM app, I'm inside the CRM app. This is CRM app. Okay. This is the routers of tickets, users, and all. Inside CRM app, I define a notification client, which is going to communicate with the notification service. Notification service is a separate service running on a separate port on my computer. And the communication will happen between these two ports now. Okay. Does that make sense, Abhijit? Yeah. So I define that I'm going to talk to this port. And then all I do is what is client? What client? What is client? A method. Client is, so understand the word client. Client is somebody who sends a request to a server. That is the purpose of life of client, nothing else. Now client here is an object which is from this class called as a node REST client. Okay, and this object has the superpower that whatever request you send it, it can send it through the REST API. Whatever REST API you have, it can send request to it. You just provide the URL, you provide the arguments. If there is success, if there is a success in this, there will be a callback function. Uh, just give me 1 second. There will be a callback function which will have data and response. Or instead, manually, it will run given API automatically. Exactly, para. And How would you have done it if you don't have the access to client? So if you don't have access to client, and you are still like you are like Anil Ambani who don't know how to do business. Uh, so what you do is you will have somebody who will sit on a computer, look at the database all the time, and whenever there is a change in the database, open up Postman and sends the request using the Postman. Okay, that would be the manual equivalent of doing this thing. Abhijit, I'll explain that. I'll explain how it is getting these values. Let me write the client. And typically what happens is when ticket ID is going to be something like the ticket ID that you have already. And um, ticket ID is the ticket ID for the ticket. So when you have the ticket controller, you can send the ticket ID from there. Here you will have something called as ticket ID. There is user ID, there is ticket, there is user ID. What is this? Update ticket. Find one. User ID is there. Um, and this will have an object called as ticket.save. And this ticket will have an ID of its own. Okay. This request parameter ID. This is where you can get the ticket ID. Subject is depending, you can write a custom subject depending on whether that was an update operation or a create operation. We'll look into it in just few minutes. Now I'll come here and this is the callback function. Uh, I'll just write it as console.log. You can have much more granular logging, but I'll not go into that detail. I mean, that's a small detail. I don't want to get there. And I'll have console.log data. Whatever data I have, I'm doing. Uh, I'm doing the logging of it. Okay. So far, so good. That's all you need to send a request to the notification client. Now, what request are you sending? There are two specific requests that I think we can send, and that code will go where? What is the most? Now, here is a question. Like imagine this is a question coming to you in a job profile. Somebody said you need to send some. Let me explain the whole setup. Suppose your manager comes to you. You have joined a new job. This is the application that is there, and CRM app is being built over the years. It's a very big application, and your manager comes to you and says, "We have a new app service called as notification service." Okay, the uh, the job of the notification service is to send notifications for whatever updates are happening on our tickets. We previously didn't have notification service, but now we have it. Your task is to find appropriate places where we should send the notification. I mean, what are the key notification you have to send? Sometimes the product manager might be saying the requirement, but imagine you got the requirement that you have to send the notification every time the ticket gets created, and you have to send the notification every time the ticket gets updated. Now the question to me is, you start coding, where will you write the code for sending the notification? Where will you trigger that now the ticket is created, and now there has been a change in the ticket and I need to send notification? Where will you do? Where will you write that? Is the question making sense? What is the most appropriate place to write the instruction that a current change has happened? Likit says controller. Does anyone has any other option? Update ticket. No, I'm talking about, okay, your update ticket. Where is update ticket, Abhijit? You don't know the application. You have not seen the CRM app. You don't know how it works also. It is the first time you have done. But as soon as the assignment comes, you should be able to pinpoint that something is has to go into the controller, because controller is going to change the model. And when the model change, that is the point where I want to communicate the change to the notification service. Anyone who wants to write this code into the model itself? Anyone wants to write the code in the model itself? Anyone wants to write uh, the same code and uh, same code anywhere else, like a router? Anyone want to write it in router? Anyone want to write it in the app.js? App.js. No one. So we have a clear majority that controller is the right place to write this code, right? And this is the common understanding we all have, that controller is the right place. Okay, and that is the benefit of having clear organization. There's no guesswork that you have to do, and you can code very quickly. Now you know this code has to go, and all you need to do is call this function from the controller, ticket controller. Go to ticket controller, and there are two operations. One is create ticket operation. And when do you send this notification? Only when the ticket is actually successfully created. You don't want to send it if the ticket failed. There's no point in notifying the notification service that the ticket creation has failed. So all you do is come here. First of all, you'll have something called as send email, which is const send email. Is going to require uh, util utils slash notification client. Right now, I'm writing notification client in utils, uh, but it can also make sense if in future uh, you have bunch of clients, you're talking to a bunch of services. It may actually make sense to have a separate folder called as clients, and that is actually going to call other services. Okay, so that is one thing you can do later. You have a function called as email client, and you just before sending the result, generally utils contains functions that have specific needs, or constants that have specific needs. Okay, something that can be used across multiple apps. Okay, yeah. So you can think of it as miscellaneous, and don't write proper modules inside that, inside utils. Utils should be very small tools that you have. It should not be, it should not be something which is a large part of your code. Any one of these files, utils as a whole can be very large, but each individual file should be very short, because you don't want anything more complex than that in utils. Okay, so all you need to do here is write send email, this function, and ticket dot, whatever ticket is there, ticket dot underscore id, send the id of the ticket, then send a message which says ticket with id colon dollar ticket dot underscore id created. Okay. This is what, this is the subject. Then there is something called as content. In the content, you can basically send the ticket description. From here, this is how client gets the ticket ID and everything. Exactly. Now you understand, Aviji? That's how client is getting all its info. Ticket got created, and You will have ticket dot description, and then there's something called as email IDs. Who should get notified about this? Who should get notified about this? So the way I'm thinking of doing it is, since it's a hmm, so there are two people who should get notified. First is the user who has called it. So user dot email is one, and you will have engineer dot email, and you can save it inside a array. Hmm. But you see what is the problem here? Uh, I think it will work, but I'm not sure. So I'll just send it like this, and hopefully it will work. If it does not work, I'll check. Who is the requester? User dot email ID. Now, what is subject? Subject is whenever you send an email, you write a subject about the email, which tells you what that email is about. Similar to if I send you a email, I would want a subject to be written. That's what subject is. Description is the overall email. You will not directly send the ticket description as it is to the two clients. You might have another API, or you might have a simple code which translates a ticket description into a beautiful HTML. So that might be a code that you can write here. But for the timing, I'm just sending the description as it is. But you can write a proper HTML here, and that email will get sent. There is a user ID, there is email address, and there is engineer email address. And once you provide these 5 things, you're good to go. And trust me, this assignment will be like a 1 week assignment in a company, in a large company. In Microsoft, it might be actually a year-long project. I might be exaggerating a little, but in Microsoft, this might be a year-long project. What have you done this year? I've sent the ticket notification from the notification service. Uh, but I still, still, if you and there will be people who will be working 8 hours a day for the whole year just to send this small piece of information. Anyways, so here also we'll have the same thing. Ticket ID, ticket ID, um, and we'll have ticket with ID. You can send ticket underscore ID, ticket with ticket ID, updated, and then okay. So one thing that I have done wrong here is um, you don't send a list of emails here. You don't send a list of emails. You actually send a string because this is going through your email client. Uh, So does it happen in large CMB? Yes, that happens in large companies. So uh, user email and engineer email should be comma separated list of emails. Okay, that is one technical thing. That's a small scale detail that you might have to, because when SMTP is sending it, it is not processing an array, it is processing strings. So you can think of it as an email client. Okay, so just like you comma separate different emails while sending them from Gmail, you comma separate them while sending it from uh, while sending it uh, from the notification service. Does it happen in that large companies? Yes, large companies have, especially in Microsoft, it is like that. Uh, yeah, you can just Microsoft is just take retirement. it's I mean they pay well and they have all those. If you can, if there are people like this, but sir, we need to switch on notification server to run this service. We have switched it on. We have switched it on in this PowerShell. It is running here silently, saying timeout error so many times. Okay. It is trying to send. It is poor soul. I sometimes feel sorry for these machines because they do they do so stupid work. I mean that machine is running for last half an hour trying to send something that I know will not get sent because of the email address problem, and that machine is emotionless. That's okay. I'm that machine is like I am sending it. I don't mind. Okay. Again, here I can write ticket description. Uh, I can write ticket description, and I'll have saved user. I have saved user. What do I have here? Yeah, there is a saved user, and there is something called as uh, the engineer. Ticket status, signee. No, who is the engineer? Okay. So now you'll have two few things that you have to write here. First is const. Who is the engineer on this ticket? You need to notify him. So you'll just do await uh, await user dot find one, and here you are going to send user ID as or assignee. This is one. Similarly, you can get the once you have the engineer, you can also get the reporter who is reporting uh, has reported this ticket. These are the two people who needs to be notified every time there is some change into the ticket. It will be a good bad user experience if you create a ticket and things are happening to it and you are not getting notified about it. So this is ticket.reporter. This is ticket.status. You have a engineer, you have reporter, and then comes the ticket, the email sent. We have the ticket description, and now we are going to send it to three people. Avijit, what is happening here? Line 84 to 90. Okay, so I'm taking all the parties who needs to. So look at this update ticket. Update ticket is a simple function. A user says I'm going to update the ticket. I call him the saved user. Okay, he is going to update the ticket. Now, whatever updates I have found the ticket by the params, whatever API params I had, I found the ticket. Once I found the ticket, I look at the request and whatever the user has changed in the ticket, I update that in the ticket. Once I have updated all those things, I have a new ticket which I save. So now one party is, so it is different. Update is different from create. In create, the user was the reporter was the party who was creating the ticket. But in update, it can be the engineer, it can be the user, it can also be an admin who is changing the ticket. Anyone can change the ticket. Okay. So there are essentially three parties. One party who is changing the ticket, he can be an engineer or customer, but I'll keep him separate because I know that there is something called as admin, which can cause problem. So I have the person who has changed the ticket. I call him saved user. Then I have two more entities. First is the engineer, and second is the reporter, who should also be stakeholders in changing changes to the data. So I have these three people. All I do is I separate them with a comma, and I notify all of them. Notify saved user. I notify the engineer, and finally I notify the reporter. I don't want to keep anyone unhappy. If I notify all three of them, now who is the requester? Can you tell me out of these three, who has requested this update? Avijit, I want an answer from you. Out of these three, who is the reporter of this change? Now, that may not be the case. A saved user and reporter are not the same. Reporter is the person who initially created the ticket. He is the reporter. When you have ticket create, you have something called as reporter. When I call ticket create, the person who is sending this request, uh, who is sending, reporter is the person who is sending this request. And how do you get the reporter, Avijit? You get it from the uh, what is called x-axis token. JWT token gave you the person who created the request. Similarly, here the JWT token gave you the person who initialized this update ticket request. Okay. Now, here the saved user is the person who have changed the ticket, who is the change initiator. And I say this is the person who is the reporter of this change. I save this, and that's all the changes I needed to make in my controller. And my task is done, and my boss should be happy. Now I don't have to go through the whole code to make this change. I know everything else will work fine. And if you change this one thing and the whole code breaks, that means either you have changed the wrong thing or there is serious problems with the code. Okay. Ideally, most of the changes that people are doing in a code should be like this. They know specifically where they need to change. They go there, make the change, and move forward with their life. Now I'll just write here a node app.js. Let's hope it is created. Okay, the admin is created, and he has created 3 tickets. Huh. Let me go back to my Mongoose and see if I have enough users. Otherwise, I'll have to create some users for, and that might be a little longer. Let me check how much time I have 10 minutes. So I think I can create some user. I just need two users. So I go to something called as CRM app db2. There is something as users. There are 3 users. One is the admin, the other is the customer, and the other is the engineer. So perfect. Yeah, I have few users. Now I can go to Postman and I can create a new request. And this request is a post request on the I need to create a ticket as okay. Before that, I'll have to log in as a customer. So I'll just write get. Hmm, let me see. How do I log in? So I come here and user routes of user. Um, no auth logs. If you post a request on sign in, you can actually log in. So I come here, copy this, and let me see what is the password for Anshu09. It is, oh my God, I have not saved the password. Mm, I think it was 12345 6. Yeah, it might be the correct password. So I just create a post request on localhost, uh, localhost colon 3000 slash whatever API CRM API sign in, and body is raw JSON, and in this I have something called as. Is there a name for this way of fetching ticket ID inside client? You don't fetch ticket ID in client. You fetch it in the controller. This is basically, yeah. That is basically, yeah. Mm, no, it's not callback. It's not callback. It's regular parameter passing. Like you are just passing a parameter. I don't know if there is a specific name, so I'm sorry. Uh, uh, Let me go back to the sign in function and see how to make a sign in request. So I'll just go to applications, controllers, authentication. You need not sign up. You need sign in, and in this you need a user ID and a password. You need password and user ID. Okay, I'll send both of them. So I come to my Postman. I write user ID. Is it that way? Sorry. User ID, and user ID is who is the customer? Anshul 009. This is the user ID. Um, This is the user ID, and we have password. We have the password as 1234556. Let me hope that it works. Send it. What it says, and it says I got the access token. Very good. So my memory is not bad. It saved us few minutes of coding. So we have the X-access token. With the X-access token, I'm going to post a request to create. So first of all, let me save this. So I'll just Control S, and I'll create a new collection, called it a CRM app. And in this collection, I'll write something request name as sign in customer. Save this. Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another request, which is a how do you create a ticket router? I can post on CRM API tickets, and I just need a token. So I come back, I do local host, and I write this. In this, I'll have a body. This will be a raw body with JSON. First of all, I'll have a header, which is X access token. X access token, and this token is the sign-in customer. It's from here to here. It's the token, and then the body. The body will contain few things. Let me see how is the request for uh, a ticket is looking like. So I need the title, priority, description, and status, and user ID. User ID I'll get from the access token. I need description, priority, and title, and status. Uh, how am I going to use this status? Oh, I'll not define status for the timing. I'll just let it be undefined. So I'll send the title. Um, let this be test ticket. I'll have a description. Let me copy the spelling of description. I'm very bad with the spellings. Um, Description random. Also have something called as ticket priority. Let me set it to be equal to 2 and description reporter I don't have to send. These are the three things I need. I've sent all of them, and now I will just create a post request. Send it. It says it created a request with priority to open status. Okay. Now this ticket got created. Now look at this here. Now this ticket got created and it has sent the request and the request got accepted. It has sent the request to my uh, to my notification server. If I go to my notification server, it says uh, it says these two, Anand and Karan. Karan is the engineer who is assigned, and um Anand is the customer, and it received this request, and it is one of the pending requests that it has now. Okay, I can show you in the DB as well. If I go back to the notification DB and I refresh this, let me refresh this. I go to notification DB. There are two documents. It is one document which is saying a random ticket has been created, and these are the two people who needs to be notified about it. Okay. Anand and Karan should be notified. Anand is one of my client, one of my customer, and Karan is my client. Karan is my engineer. Okay, is the overall flow making sense to you? I'll stop sharing my screen. Aradhya, Nitish, yes. Can I summarize? When will notification service need a client to be defined? When you are going to, I mean, you can think of client as basically a way of sending messages over REST API. So whenever you want to use another service, you create a client for that. Navijit. Whenever you want to call a new service, you create a client for it and you can call it. It is like your personal postman. Whenever every service has a postman, and then it can send notice to other services. Now let's look at what has happened so far. This is the person called as the customer. Customer sent a request to the CRM app that hey, I am a customer, and he says please sign me in. The CRM app signed him in and send him a X access token. He sent CRM app send a JWT token to the customer. Using that JWT token, client the customer actually created a ticket. The CRM app saved that ticket in its DB. In the first, it sent it to the controller. Controller saved the ticket to the DB in the model. Once the ticket was saved, the controller itself. So controller did two things. First it find a engineer who should be assigned the ticket, and both the name of the engineer as well as the name of the customer are saved in the model. Once it knows that these two things are saved in the model and it was all successful, it calls the notification service saying that I have created a new ticket for this engineer and this customer. This is the customer and this is the engineer. Now, hey, notification service, please send an email to the engineer as well as the customer that the ticket has been created. The notification service, being an obedient service, creates a email which goes to Gmail, and Gmail then send it back to the customer and another party called as engineer. Okay, is the flow clear? Who wanted me to summarize? Aradhya. Yeah. Isn't it a very pleasant thing to have this all organized? So isn't this look like a clean room? So can we call this design of our system? Yes, this is exactly the design of Vijay. This is the design of the system. This is also the, I mean, this is depiction of the design using the flow, control flow. Oh, it is called as flow chart. It is actually called as flow chart. Yeah, this is impressive. And what is more good about it is once all the pieces fix together, it is like a very well clean room. Like if you look at a clean room, you know exactly where everything is going. It is so easy to work in that room. Whereas if you are like a teenager in a college, you don't know what is going where. You just know one place, a small contour on your bed where somebody is, so somebody can sleep, and there are books and everything lying around on the bed, and there is only one thing that happens. Uh, uh, that is that there's one thing that happens in that room, that the student comes and sleeps. He doesn't do anything else. But this is a clean room. It knows what is happening. Does it like system design? Yeah, it's similar to system design, Ankit. It is actually called as low level design, Ankit. The exact word for this whole system is called as low level design, where I have defined classes, modules who are doing specific things. High level design would be how do you scale this system to a million subscribers? Okay, and those challenges are what you need to take care of. Yeah, how do you set up the clusters? What should be the caching mechanism like? Do you want to always what will be the debugging methods? All those things will come under low level design. Okay, that's it for today. I'm sorry for overshooting by 4 minutes, but I'm going to end the class now. In the next class, yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you, Radha. I'll push the changes. I'm pushing the code. Hmm. Good night. I'm pushing the code. Hmm. Connected notification servers with CRM. Thank you. Bye, everyone. I'm pushing the changes. It will take few seconds. There's a lot of changes. And I've committed and I'm pushing. Yeah, changes are pushed. Bye, everyone. Have a nice day. Yes, Abhijit, you can say that exactly. Yes, Abhijit, you can say that. Bye.